So, Jefferson, I wanted to start with foundations because something interesting happened to me when I listened to your book, and that is I thought that I'd learned everything I could possibly learn from you because I've watched all of your content. And it actually, the opposite turned out to be true. And what struck me is how important it is to understand sort of the why behind a lot of these behaviors we're having so that the things that you actually teach in your 60-second videos stick. So I wanted to start by giving our listeners some foundations. And I've picked out 3 themes that I think are essential for women in a work context. So the first one is
Okay.
what is sent is not what's received, and everyone's having a conversation in their head that you're not invited to. Can you expand on this concept for us?
Yeah. When we face communication externally, when we're talking to somebody else, we expect that exactly what comes out of our mouth is exactly what goes into the ears of the other person. And there's a difference between hearing and listening. You hear noise, but you listen to understand. And a lot of the times when somebody's not paying attention, they're working, they're like, "Oh yeah, what do you have?" And they're working on something. They're hearing you, but they're not really listening. So often we only focus on what is said, not as what is received. And to put that into some context, let's say you and I are in an argument, Sophie. Now, I would never want to be in an argument with you, but if we were, and if you were telling me what I said at dinner the other night, and I just responded, "That's not what I said." No, Sophie, that is not what I said. And yes, you did. That's exactly what you said. It is no good for me to argue that is not what I said. The question is, Sophie, what did you hear? Then what did you hear? Instead of that's not what I said, it's what did you hear? Because what you'll find is what they heard is more often than not very different than what you said. You go, no, 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 that's not what I meant. No, that's not what I said at all. Or that wasn't my intention. Because we have this thing in our mind that talks to ourselves, but we don't share it with the other person, whether it's triggers or faults or fears or shame or struggle, whatever it is. We have that internally within us and we don't voice those. Instead, we raise our voice, we use ugly words, we throw something out that cuts, and that leads to a lot of problems in communication.
Yeah, I feel like that's especially true in a work context when everyone has all of these everyone's coming from different places, whether that's different departments or different levels, and they're
Mm.
carrying around with them sort of the opinions and the experiences of maybe their manager or a project that hasn't gone well before. And so I think when we're trying to communicate
Hmm.
with each other, maybe you're trying to share an idea, like pitch a new idea you have, there's all this context that people have that that you don't have. And I think sometimes it makes it really difficult. You're trying to deliver your message, but they're actually picking up something completely different, and they've got all this context that they're not sharing with you. So I think that's a really important one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it works the other way too. Of let's say you're in the workplace and you want to talk to somebody and you don't want to feel like you're being too aggressive or too strong, and so you might come into the conversation with, "Hey, do you have a little bit of time?" I don't mean to bother you here, but so what I was thinking was, and you can totally tell me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Were you doing something? You hear how like you're very hesitant in your language. You feel like you're being very deferential. What they're going to hear is this is somebody who's being apprehensive. This is
Yeah.
somebody who is unsure of themselves and uncertain. And so what you say is not exactly what the other person hears.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful concept, and I think you're exactly right.
Yeah. Thank you. And then the second one is if you respond with curiosity instead of judgment, you open a door instead of building a wall. I think, this sometimes at work we forget that a company is just a big collection of messy humans and we all are emotional humans. So could you teach us about this concept?
Yeah, I like to say that we're just all one big high school. I think that it's the same people. We're just all a little older. I mean, we may be thinner, heavier, more gray, less hair, whatever. It's the same person. And when you get into this mindset of feeling like when somebody tells you something, you have to bark something back. In other words, just because they said something, you have to catch it, hold it, throw it right back at them. That often is going to diminish how you feel about yourself and what you think of the other person, how often you take something personal. Instead of of feeling like you have to come up with that zinger or that clap back, whatever that is. I like to use the word curiosity, and sometimes it can be overused, but it's just using questions as not a weapon, but as a really efficient tool. Like there's no sharper blade in my mind than a very well placed question at the right time. So, and when you're in the face of confrontation or conflict, whatever it is this mindset that you have that I teach of have something to learn, not something to prove. Instead of trying to, in the workplace, trying to push your point on the other person, have this mindset of whatever they say, you think, where is this coming from? Why would they say that?
Mm.
What is behind the person, behind the words? And that is a much more emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent way to go about how you're going to communicate.
I feel like if we can all remember that and approach things with curiosity, not with judgment, as the first place we start, we're all going to be so much better, more happy in the workplace, but also just like working more efficiently together as well. That's beautiful. And then the
Yeah.
third one,
I was going to say it's questions. People say, how do you lead with curiosity? It's questions. Ask more
yeah,
questions than the responses you give. But go ahead. Point
I
three, I'm
love,
ready.
yeah, no, I love that. And I think we'll get actually into some scenarios later on, and we'll get some of those
Okay.
questions out as well that people can ask, because I think you've got some incredible advice around that. The third one is arguments
Excited.
aren't something you win, they're something you unravel. What do we need to know about this?
Yeah. There is this default that we all have inside of ourselves that we're very competitive. And when we argue with somebody, we feel like we have to win. What does winning look like? Usually it means the person that's left standing, the person who had the last word, because you said too much and the other person's left the room. They've hung up the phone. You said that one thing that took it too far and somebody else started crying. What I teach is that when you set out to win an argument, you often will lose the relationship. You've really just won to be the first person to apologize. Like you've won their contempt. You've now won awkward silence as you stuff to pass them down the hall, or the next time they email you and you're not really sure if they hate your guts or not. Or maybe you still live with this person, you work with this person. I mean, you haven't helped yourself. So it's easy to feel like you can win in the moment, but you're the one left holding on to the things that were better left unsaid. And I teach that it's better off to unravel it, see them as knots in conversations. An argument is a window into another person's struggle. And when you can lead with questions, that curiosity of finding
Mm.
out where is the snag, where's the knot in the conversation. Because Sophie, if you pull your way and I pull mine, that knot is going to get harder and harder to undo. It's going to get tighter. And we have people that they have pulled so long and so hard that they can't untie their knot for a week or a month. And we know people that haven't talked to their parents or their family member in years because of how hard they pulled on that knot. So instead, you need to see them as something to unravel with each other.
I love that visual analogy so much because I actually use it. This is one of those interesting things where I learned it from you and I thought about it first in a work context, but I've used it so much in my personal life as well. And I just think of like that unraveling of the knot. Every time I'm trying to get in, to the point where I want to win a conversation with my partner,
Mm.
I think about this knot and I think about it either unraveling or tightening. It's super powerful. Just to drill down on this in a work context, I think the place that a lot of us get into is we think short term at work. We think, I just
Mm.
want to be the person who comes across looking really great in this meeting, and I want to like be right. But what we forget is that at work in particular, that we're really looking at long term relationships with people. And so, what I like about what you said, arguments are a window into someone else's struggle. And so to put that in a work context, you are going to be better at your job if you try to understand all the other teams, all the other people that you're working with. What are things like for them? What are they struggling with? What are their priorities? And instead of trying to win that argument all the time, use that as like signals, use that as inputs you can be gathering to help you understand. And that's going to help you work better with them and also like probably get your own way if you want to eventually, because you'll know how to sort of frame things and pitch things to them in the right way.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I find that, especially in work, we feel like we're in a vacuum and that everybody else is experiencing things different from you. And it is their job to really cater to you or your feelings, when so much what I see in the workplace is people all share a lot of the same struggles. We have family members that are dealing with things, our own traumas and shame and things that we don't want to talk about. Or, I mean, we're just tired. You didn't sleep well the night before. You're irritable. You're hungry. You have your mind set on a million other things. When somebody passes you in the hall and they don't say hi, you're gonna think, "Oh, what a jerk." I mean, it's easy to just think about
Yeah.
me, when, they'd even see you or their mind's 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And when you get in this mindset of asking, like we said, the questions and finding ways to be, more often than not, giving people the benefit of the doubt in conversation, particularly in the work context. I find we take a lot of things personally. Like, you read an email and you go, "Oh, that's rude." And you don't even second guess what the other person said or what they really meant by that. So there are very quick ways you can clear that up. But yeah, it's quicksand, especially in the workplace.
Those are the foundational things. And then I really want to talk about, there's some things that I've learned from you that I think are absolute game changers. And if people learn them, it's really going to set them apart in the workplace and make them stand out. So the first one is this concept of conversational framing. I fully
Yeah.
think if people learn this, they're like getting promoted this year. So can you teach us about conversation?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's so powerful. And I think particularly powerful in the workplace because we really have to be, we're all trying to communicate with each other. There's a lot of information we're filtering through and we're trying to communicate it in a pretty short amount of time. And everyone's got a lot going on, as you said before. So
Mm.
can you teach us about this idea of conversational framing and how it can create clarity in how we communicate our work?
Yeah, I love frames. And frames are probably the number one tool that you can use at your disposal to solve difficult conversations, or really any conversation. And this is how you do it. Number one, you're going to start with telling them what you want to talk about. Two, you're going to tell them how you want to end the conversation. That's the critical ingredient right there. And three, you get their buy-in into this frame. The reason why frames work is because it's this idea: if you talk about everything, you really talk about nothing. If you've been into those meetings where somebody sits down, they go, "All right, everybody, we have a whole lot to talk about, got a lot of things on the agenda." Like, do you ever feel like you left that meeting achieving anything? Do you ever feel like it was productive? Probably not. But instead, when you can focus on one or two issues and go really deep on them, then you're like, okay, this is great. So let's put it in a regular context between me and you. And let's say uh, this is we're just talking about something that's going to happen in the future. It can be as simple as, "Hey, Sophie, I'd like to talk with you right here. That's number one, about tomorrow's budget. Number two, and I want to walk away from that conversation feeling like we're on the same page. Three, sound good? Or does that
Yes.
work? Is that okay
Yes.
with you?"
Yes.
Like, now you know exactly what I want to talk about, and you know the goal of the conversation. You know when we're done. You know where we're both going. Because what happens in regular conversations is sounds more like this: "Hey, do you have a few minutes? Hey, so I was thinking, so we have the meeting tomorrow, and you're going, okay, what's happening? What's going on?"
What? Yeah.
When you can say immediately what you want to talk about and how you want to end, it's going to be a lot better. But let's say that maybe it's you've done something wrong, Sophie, which I'm sure you do. You're in trouble today. And I say, "Sophie, I need to talk with you about some comments you made at yesterday's meeting. And I want to walk away in that conversation understanding that can't happen again." All right. Like, right there, you know exactly what's going on, and you know where the conversation is headed. Using frames is a wonderful way to get directly to the point, get on page, and then when you get your buy-in to that frame, meaning when they say okay or yes, that sounds good, then you kind of have this implied contract. They're going to commit to that conversation with you rather than feeling like you have to talk about everything. But
Oh
they're
man,
they're
it
very
just like,
powerful tools.
yeah, instantly you feel more at ease because you know what's going on, you know what they want to talk to you about versus either thinking like, what the hell is this person talking about? Or like, are they going to say something bad? Like
Yeah.
what's happening now? So I think that's
Yeah.
incredibly powerful.
Yeah, they're just waiting for that hammer to drop
Yeah.
if you don't use it. I mean, they're just waiting if you go, "Hey, you're so great, and I've really enjoyed our relationship together." And you're going, "Are we breaking up right now? Is this something? What's?" I mean, we always think to the negative every
Yeah.
single time. So when you can
Yeah.
come out front and be straight with them, nobody feels like they have to step in and fix anything.
There's something that I think is probably related to this, which is this idea of setting sort of a conversational goal. And even there's something you teach around small talks with yourself before you go into the
Mm.
conversation. Can you just tell us about that?
Yeah, small talks are nothing fancy. It's just a small talk that you have with yourself of how you want to progress in the conversation. What is the your north star in the conversation? So if you're somebody that's a little bit timid, maybe your small talk is speak clearly. Or if you feel like you can't be hesitant, you find ways of using words that begin with verbs to maybe it's stand tall or say it, don't show it. I mean, different things that you could say to yourself. It's just all in your head of it's not like you get graded for it. It doesn't have to be written up anywhere or put on a billboard. It's just you and yourself and making sure that you feel like you're showing up in that conversation as yourself. And when you're able to use those efficiently, it kind of just helps ready you, calms yourself. It's in rule one of the book, it's say it with control. And those are one of the tools that you can use to just kind of go, all right, I feel a little bit more regulated. I feel like I'm calm and I know where I'm going to go in this conversation. You feel just a little bit ready.
It's so good because I think so much at work, we're just jumping from meeting to meeting and we rush in there. And then it's like, wait, like, what am I doing here? Just taking 10 seconds to think, like, how do I want to show up in
Hmm.
this meeting? What do I want to get out of it? What do I want to contribute to the meeting? Just doing that and having a little small talk with yourself, I think can be so helpful. I actually had a little small talk with myself before this interview. Do you want me
Oh,
to tell you
yeah.
what mine was?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Let's do it.
Yeah, it was, it's about the people listening, not you, Soph. So that was a reminder that, this
You're fine.
conversation isn't about me, it's about our listeners.
Yes, that's wonderful.
And then the second one was let him talk. I have a, tendency to talk a lot, and I wanted to give you the chance to
Yeah,
talk.
and see the magic of these, the whole point of small talks is, your own intention for it is you're thinking after the conversation. We go into communication often thinking of just what we want to say in that moment, but we don't think about what comes after. You think of the first date, you think of the second date, you think of the wedding. You don't think about what happens after. And that right there that's your whole mindset of where you should think in conversation. How do I want them to feel? How do I want to feel when we walk away? How do I want them to feel when we walk away? When we leave, when we go to our homes and houses, how do I want to feel? That happens a lot with people who say things they don't mean. They get emotionally flooded and they blurt it out and they don't think about how is this going to weigh on me, you know 2 years from now. I can remember that thing that I said to that person that still haunts me and I'm embarrassed by it because I was just thinking about the moment, not the moment that comes after it.
So true. It's like linking back to that first point that we talked about in terms of the foundations. What you say is
Mm,
not what is heard. And so you really have to be thinking about the other person, not just about what you want to say. Love it. All right.
yeah.
This is probably the biggest one that the community of people listening struggle with. And so I wanted to spend some time on it, which is how to be assertive and direct, but still be warm. And I think, like, I mean, you just absolutely nail this. It's something we all struggle with, but we know it's really
Mm.
important. As if we were your students, how can we get better at being assertive?
Yeah. I I want you to flip this idea of what confidence is and what assertiveness is. Because a lot of people find that they wish they had more confidence to say something. Well, I'm building up the confidence to say it, but that's not it, Sophie. It's confidence is not something you get before the conversation. Confidence is the outcome. Confidence is what you get after you said the assertive thing. I teach confidence is as assertive does. So if you want to be more confident, you're going to choose words that serve you better. You're going to choose mindsets that serve you better. One, you have to get over the idea of disappointing people. because we have this feeling of people pleasing. And that's very, very common because you want to be liked. I'm not saying you can't be liked. There's absolutely a healthy balance. For example, over apologies. People have a tendency to get into those a lot, where you say, I'm sorry, in every other sentence. Hey, so sorry, I just missed this. So sorry, I'm 2 minutes late. So sorry, I'm just now getting back to you. When really you're just apologizing for having priorities, doing other things that were more important in that time than them. And what you're better off at, which makes you sound more hesitant, less assertive, when you always start out with apologies or over apologizing, is you turn them into words of gratitude. Like, thank you for the time to think on this. Thank you for the time of allowing me to reply. I appreciate your time. I mean, as simple as that. Thank you for your patience. Whenever you speak that to them, you're giving them the quality of patience. You're giving them that gratitude. You take 3 days to respond to an email, Sophie. Instead of this, I am so sorry, I'm just now getting back to you. I've just been so overwhelmed, and work is just catching up. Oh, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Whatever that is. All you need to say is, thank you for giving me the time to think on this, period. And then answer.
Yes.
You know what they're going to think? They're going to go, you know what? You are so welcome. I am so patient. You're so right. Yes, I am. I mean, it totally transform that relationship, and you're not having to apologize for having priorities. Little things like, hey, I hate to bother you, but, and then you say things, and you know what they're thinking the whole time you're saying it? God, this bothers me. Or you say, now I could be wrong about this, or this might be a dumb question. And all they're thinking is, this is such a dumb question. And you find phrases that are just undercutting, undervaluing what comes out of your mouth. Stop doing that. You just eliminate those. Instead, assertiveness adds on to things. So for example, instead of this, hey, I hate to bother you, instead it's, I'd like to add something to what you said, or I'm thinking of something and I think it's going to, add a benefit to what we're talking about here. Whenever you use words of addition, that says I'm interested in asserting forward progress. So words of addition are wonderful. I want to add on to this. This is something it's not taking away, it's adding on to. I want to build upon what you just said, Sophie. And then everybody goes, oh yes, I'm listening now. It's not like you going, hey, I could be totally wrong about this, guys. And you're trying to be hesitant about it. So you find ways to use your assertive voice. And once you say it, you're going to feel the confidence afterwards. And that in turn is going to give you more confidence to say more assertive things.
Oh my God. I feel like when you're talking like that, you're respecting yourself. And so it makes me want to respect you too and listen to what you say. God, that's powerful. And confidence is a feeling, and it's something that you get from respecting yourself and being assertive and being clear.